Hello, welcome to the Speed League podcast from Southern California. I'm Kelly Hansen. This is Ryan Berkman. Triple Crown race. I'm actually excited to talk about this one because it was weird and crazy and chaotic and had a lot of really fast people winning main events, and none of those people were the guy that won the overall Cooper Webb.
Yeah, exactly. And it just goes to show how stacked this year is in both 250 and 450 because each race, winner didn't repeat. I mean, there was just guys getting good starts and crashing, and then people winning, and it was like complete chaos. And yeah, like you mentioned, the fact that Cooper Webb didn't even win a race, but he still won the overall. That's always interesting when that happens. But like consistency is key in fantasy and for triple crowns as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see in the Triple Crowns, like it's almost like everybody can go real fast for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, as long as one of those main events happens. And it's kind of a different sport. It's a different technique than the regular full length main events.
Yeah, it is, and starts mean so much. I mean, obviously, it's like every race starts mean a lot, but like since these races are a little shorter, it doesn't give the guy that maybe started in sixth time to move up and then catch a leader and everything like that. So I mean, it just seems like start super important, just like riding your race, keeping your head down, and just being consistent. And like Cooper Webb did that. He was just consistent the whole night, and it really worked out for him.
Yeah, he didn't get any hole shots and he didn't get any wins, but he was up there the whole time. Like every start, he was in the vicinity of where he needed to be. And if you're Cooper Webb and have enough speed, like Cooper Webb does right now, that's all you need to do is just be in contention. And some other people were strong. I mean, I saw Sexton come out and dominate the first one. It's like, oh, this guy's faster than anybody. He's gonna destroy this entire night. I had him predicted third, and I thought it wasn't good enough after the first race, and then just bad starts and ended up poorly at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean Sexton and Jett and even Tomac in the first couple, races, like making mistakes. And it seems like, like those triple crowns, you just can't make those mistakes. And like Webb last year, he was the king of consistency. I mean, he averaged second place. He wasn't much of a guy to get those like race wins. He's like normally getting second. And I think he only won two races last year. But I mean, again, he's
Mm-hmm.
just always there, always battling, and he looked really good. So props
Yeah.
to Cooper Webb. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, you've got him on your team, which is awesome. Was really worried about him at the beginning of the season, and now I'm thinking he might be, the guy that you really want. Tomac, though, we were watching the race together, and I told you I was like, oh man, after the first, race or two, I don't know if he like has that top end, just really fast Tomac speed that's made him be the winner and the top guy in the past. And then all of a sudden, third main event, he came in like completely cleaned house.
Yeah, it was the first time actually, in the first or second race that I remember thinking to myself, Tomac looks a little old. And I was like, just like
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at him, and seeing, like Sexton kind of looking fit and hyped and everyone looking hyped. And, Tomac just like, sitting there on his bike. And thought Tomac looks old. So I said, hey, look, there's no way Tomac's going to be battling for any, podiums or wins or anything like that. And then boom, on the third race comes out and just wins it. So it just shows again how stacked the field is. Any of these guys could win any race. And it's a really fun to watch these guys battle it out this year.
Yeah, and I mean Tomac was consistent enough to end up with a second on the night, but I agree. He did. I kind of was having the same thought of like this doesn't look like the fiery Tomac of old, and he looks a little old. And meanwhile, Jett looks real young.
Yes, and that's on the opposite side of the spectrum, obviously. Just more mistakes from Jett. I feel like he's just trying a little too hard. Just like
He
pushing
looks
it.
like a rookie.
Yes, exact. He like finally, looks like a rookie. It's like through like 450 outdoors, he looked invincible. A1 looked invincible. And then, it's kind of showing, hey, look, he's a young kid. He doesn't have as much experience as these other guys. And Jet's really turned in to a villain. I mean, it seems like, from like A1 when he comes down in his boxing gear and kind of changes up his whole, like intro to then getting pissed off at a veteran, Jason Anderson, for like holding him up, and he goes and grabs his helmet.
Yeah, all that drama. Yeah.
Yeah, and like a lot of veterans of Supercross were actually commenting on Jason Anderson's post that like Jason posted saying, "Hey, look, this kid, blah blah blah," and just talking a bunch of shit on Jett. And a lot of the Supercross guys were actually on Anderson's side and taking more jabs at Jett, saying, "Yeah, man, you're so right. Kids these days." So it seems like fans and like, more importantly, his like fellow competitors are just kind of rooting against him and don't want to see him do well.
Yeah, the fellow competitors is going to be a rough one because I mean, coming into the 450 class and then making a bunch of enemies is not what you want to do. But yeah, when he went down in that final race, you heard, I mean, it sounded very much like the crowd was cheering when he went down. It
Yeah.
wasn't like oh, something happened. It was oh yeah, Jett went down. We wanted that to happen, which is kind of crazy that he's gone from, almost the fun underdog character to kind of, there's some mixed feelings towards him at least.
Yeah, you have to earn being somewhat of a jackass. I mean, I know that Justin Barsha, Bam Bam, he's always, known for going in and slamming people and passing hard, and, taking a hard line. But he's been here long enough where, that's his, fun nickname. People don't really care because, oh man, that's just Bam Bam. He's crazy. But Jett hasn't earned any of that. He hasn't earned any respect from the other guys. And I really, fans know him as a super fast 250 guy, but they don't have, that like connection and love and respect for him like they do someone like Anderson. So when they see this new guy disrespect one of their favorite riders, that's not okay. And, I feel like he,
And I mean, is it just longevity in the 450 class? Because I mean, obviously he's been around the 250 class a while now, and I mean, outdoors he dominated. He won every single moto. So I mean, is this just he hasn't proven himself in Supercross, or I mean, yeah? What do you think? What is causing the animosity toward Jett?
so the premier class is called the premier class for a reason. It's like these are the guys that the fans are coming to see and they get those connections with and they buy all their merch, and they're like diehard fans. And I just think that he needs to prove himself in the premier class against premier guys
in
to get the
in Supercross though, because he's done
yes.
that outdoors.
Well, I mean, outdoors
It's a
isn't
different
the like
animal completely.
monster. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, Supercross is, way bigger. I mean, there's like more fans in Supercross. That's more of the, mainstream race. And I just feel like he needs to prove himself in like 450 Supercross to really be up there in those upper echelon of, top favorite riders of everyone.
Yeah. So I have a question because so Jett, he had arguably a pretty bad night. I mean, he almost ended up on the podium before he blew it at the end. But he had not great starts. I mean, he wasn't putting himself in a good position, but he was coming through the pack really well. And it seemed to me like I mean, I was trying to think, and it's hard to figure out during Triple Crown races sometimes, but who actually has the most outright speed? And the results may not actually reflect that, especially in Triple Crown, because you have shorter main events, and even if you're the fastest guy, that shitty start is going to blow it for you. But I mean, Sexton had crazy speed in his first race win. Jason Anderson looked incredibly fast too, but honestly, Jett looked really, really fast.
Yeah, I think that, if you take one lap, Jett is probably the fastest guy out there. But I mean, unfortunately for Jett, the race isn't one lap long. And I know that qualifying is, in a sense like that, get a like fast qualifying lap time. And Jett hasn't even really done that well in like qualifying. I know that Justin Cooper randomly was the fastest qualifier and he ended up getting eighth.
Yeah, good job, Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Was Jett
Jett,
fastest at A1? He was up there at least. I can't remember exactly.
yeah, I think that he might have been. I could go back and look, but I think that he, might have been. And it's funny, A1 was almost, like the perfect dream for Jett. Comes out, like qualifies first or second and just outright wins. And I'm sure that he was thinking, man, this is easy, in his little Australian accent that I cannot do. Sorry, that was really
That
bad.
was, that was perfect. No, no, it was great. It's the best I've ever heard.
But like he was thinking, man, this is easy, freaking I like dominated outdoors. I'm just gonna come and dominate Supercross too. Like what could go wrong? And like that like mental battle that he's probably having in his head right now of, this isn't gonna be as easy as I thought, and these guys are a lot faster than I thought. And like he's just kind of having that like mental battle. But like I said, he probably has the most speed out of everyone. I would say that just straight up speed and starts and like everything, Sexton looks absolutely amazing. I mean, he's really, really impressed me more than Jett this year. Probably the most impressed. I mean, not like fastest, not, overperforming like Plessinger, but just I'm so impressed with like Sexton this year. He looks really good on starts, really fast, raw speed. Yeah, I mean, Sexton's looking good.
His starts, he'll either not really get a good start at all, or he will be 2 bike lengths ahead of everyone off the gate.
Yes. Yeah, it's almost like, he's just either like timing it perfect or a little off. But I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
times he just has those rocket starts like he had, in the mud last week. And then this week, I forget if it was the first or second race, but he, blew out to a 2 bike length, lead on the whole shot too. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, first race that he won, we were watching it, and immediately, because they actually had a camera angle right on him off the gate, and we both went, "Oh my gosh, that was a good start from Sexton
Yeah.
again." So, yeah, he looks really good. Um,
There was a lot of talk about Plessinger prior to like this week. Is Plessinger a like title contender? And I was pretty, on the staunch stance that no, he's not. He, is like totally overperforming where he should be. He's someone that you need to bump up his like prediction a little higher than thought preseason. And I said that there is no way that he's going to keep that red plate going into the next race. And I was 100% wrong on that. I mean, granted, it like did take a little help for him to get on the podium because Anderson had that one position penalty, but he ended up on the podium again, keeping the like red plate. And I mean, that is just really, really impressive from Plessinger.
Yeah, this is exactly who I wanted to talk about, anyways. The exact opposite of our villain in the Supercross Championship is Plessinger, who everyone absolutely loves. I mean, yeah, crowd going crazy anytime he does something good, and yeah, I mean, made it happen. And I mean, I was in the races, I was watching him and just egging him, like, come on, like, have that extra speed. And he didn't really have that extra speed, but he had to hold his own with the top guys and be consistent speed, which is saying a lot. I mean, he's for sure stronger than he's been in years past. He still doesn't look like he has that, I'm going to take down the top guys pace, but he looks strong. And I mean, if everybody keeps fucking up, like, and he keeps getting podiums, it's going to be hard to take the red plate away from him.
So do you think that he's going to maintain the red plate after Detroit heading into Glendale?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to bet on it because there are. I think we got. I'm going to check actually the standings right now. We have the top 5 guys all within 10 points, and those top 5 guys headed by Aaron Plessinger is Chase Sexton, Cooper Webb, Jett Lawrence, and Eli Tomac. Not a whole lot of slow guys, I would argue, in that group. So it's going to be real tough. I think I'm going to predict Aaron Plessinger. I've got him on my team. I'll probably keep his prediction around 4 or 5. But I think there's a good chance someone's going to come and sweep in and, if not pass him, close the gap in the championship.
Yeah, I agree. And if someone would have told me preseason that after 4 rounds, Jett Lawrence would be in 4th place, behind Plessinger and Webb, I would say there's like no, oh my gosh, did he have, a terrible crash? Did he miss a race? Oh my gosh, was he sick with the flu? But I mean, that just hasn't been it. He's just making those rookie mistakes. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Um, so I had Prado subbed in again. I subbed him in every single week for the first 4 weeks. I'm almost kind of surprised no one was jumping in and taking him from me. So he's done now, but finishes off his 4 race stint in the U.S. first time ever in Supercross in the top 10. I mean, you're for sure going back happy, mission accomplished with that kind of result, right?
Yeah, I mean, totally. But it's funny because, like Cooper Webb winning the Triple Crown, Prado is in 10th place in points, but he only got top 10 one time. He got top 10 in San Francisco. So, I mean, his finishes, they were 13th, 7th, 11th, 12th. And that is obviously someone coming overseas and like racing Supercross. That is absolutely phenomenal. Got him in the top 10 in points. But it's nothing, like
And a heat
groundbreaking.
race win.
Yeah, and a heat race win, but it's nothing groundbreaking to me. I mean, to get, like I said, 13th, 11th, 12th, I mean, that was just kind of
Yeah.
middle of the
Well, I mean, I
road.
think, but it seems like he was kind of using this as like a proof of concept that, hey, I haven't been training Supercross for a long time, but I just kind of wanted to come and try it out, make sure this is sort of what I wanted to do. And I think the sort of, not official, but plan is for him to go back and race MXGP and then come back full time. And I think this is enough of a proof of concept. And if he decides to just go full on Supercross training, I mean, yeah, you're around the top 10 after basically nothing. I mean, that could be a really, really good guy at a certain point if he's actually focusing on it full time.
Yeah, at a certain point, maybe, but it just shows, the like difference in, track style or just different type of riding because he is the fastest dude, like overseas for like MXGP. He is the like number one guy. And to come here
Mm-hmm.
and get around 10th, it just shows the talent we have here and the Supercross specialists that we have here, that someone that fast and like unbeatable overseas doesn't do as well as he's used to doing back at home.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's a totally different sport, and I think, I mean, he came in, and anyone pretty much that you see just coming in to try out Supercross, I think realizes that this is something. I mean, the bike setup is completely different. Your suspension's way more stiff. Everything's blown, and I mean, just whoops by themselves. I mean, knowing how to do whoops well and fast is its own specific Supercross specialty. And I mean, he was not the best in whoops. That was definitely a weak point of his that he's going to have to work on.
Yeah, and last thing, what actually makes it sound better than him, finishing 10th in points, in like my opinion, is like listing the guys that he finished better than. I mean, Hunter Lawrence, Justin Cooper, Adam Cianciarulo, Malcolm Stewart, Christian Craig. He beat all those top name guys in points. So I mean, that just makes it sounds
Huge. Yeah.
actually like mission accomplished. That he's better than those guys. So I mean, overall, great job to him. Good luck back over there in Spain, but hope to see him out here
Yeah.
next year. Actually, maybe full time.
Yeah. And jumping right into the 450 class too is impressive because obviously most people are coming through the 250s, and I'm kind of curious, if you had dropped him in the 250 class, how he would be doing because I don't see him beating, some of these guys we'll talk about, RJ Hampshire, Levi Kitchen, Smith, someone like that. But I mean, if you're, fighting for top tens in the 450s, you might be fighting for top fives in the 250s.
So, like, what is more impressive to you? If like he would have got fifth in points in like 250s or 10th in 450s, what do you think's more impressive?
Well, I mean, I said that because I think they're reasonably equivalent, but I would say the 450 class with how stacked it is right now. I mean, to get in the top 10 of that is wildly, wildly impressive. I mean, look, Dean Wilson isn't making the main event.
Poor Dean. Poor Dean. I actually saw his post of him sitting on a couch watching the like Triple Crown with his feet up, and he was so disappointed. I actually felt really, really bad. But
It sucks. No, I mean, he's realistic at this point that he's not winning the championship, but I think he just wants to go out and have some fun and get some good results in his last year before he retires. So that's a bummer. Um, okay, let's talk about some people that were in the main event. You got somebody?
so I mean, I just want to talk about Ken Roxon real quick. I mean, he's
Yeah.
had a pretty disappointing season so far. I mean, he's been out of the got 10th and then, oh yeah, podium, then 12th, then 7th. I mean, I expect a lot more from him. I mean, I have him on my team. He was my like fifth, he was the fifth overall guy drafted in the whole league, you know. So you
Yeah.
expect someone like that to be a little better, and he's been pretty disappointing, honestly. I mean, he's an eighth in points, which is cool, but for a name like Roxon, you expect him to be a little higher.
Yeah, and he is fast too.
Yeah.
He's just a little inconsistent, a bit of this and that. But I mean, every time I see, Ken and he gets a good start, he's out front, whatever it is, last week when Plessinger was behind him, before Plessinger won, it's like he was out there going really, really fast and then just, blew it in a small little moment. So Roxon's really fast. You have him on your team. Where's his prediction for next race?
So I've had him kind of around, that like fourth and fifth spot. Last week I had him fifth and he ended up getting seventh. I think that I am going to drop him one position to sixth. That like seems like even better than he has been doing. So almost I'm being, a little, trying to look on the bright side and a little optimistic. But I think that he's probably due for a better finish, get some better luck. So I'm going to probably have him at sixth next week.
Okay, that's fair. All right. I want to talk about the 250s because I have the best 250 team for the West you could possibly imagine. Unfortunately, we're going to East next week. But yeah, now Levi Kitchen with the overall win.
He's a
Um,
boss, dude. He's a boss.
so I talked about, I believe it was last week, that Kitchen is fast, but he's squirrely and he just needs to get that consistency down, and nailed it. I mean, I wonder if having the shorter race as opposed to a full length main event really worked in his favor because he is more the speed guy. But I mean, hats off to Levi Kitchen. Great race.
Yeah, I mean, it like might have been shorter races, but I mean, like regardless, he looked so fast. He like comes out, and just wins the first race. And I'm a super consistent the whole day. I mean, even like Hampshire was making mistakes, and people making mistakes. And like he is a little squirrely, like you said, but it's almost like that's just his style, and he feels a little more in control when he's a little squirrely. And he made it work. I mean, just hats off to Kitchen. He's like definitely now in like my eyes up there with Hampshire and like Jordan Smith as like those were kind of the two top guys. Okay, who's gonna mess with him? I mean, I mean, I would rather have him over Joe Shimoda. I would have him over a lot of the guys that were like preseason ranked above him. I mean, I think that he's just looking so fast, and I think that probably next race I would predict him third. Probably. What about you, Kelly? Because you have him
Yeah,
or
third
second.
might be good.
I
I mean,
mean,
I would think about second, but I think second might be a little bit aggressive. But yeah, going into this season and after Anaheim won, my perspective was RJ is faster than everybody. And I mean, RJ is just, as long as he keeps it on two wheels, he's going to beat everybody. And he's had enough problem with that. But even that being said, the first couple main events was Kitchen and Hampshire going at it, and Kitchen was just as fast as RJ was the whole night.
yeah, he was. And like Kitchen took over the like number one spot for the most fantasy points scored in the 250 West. Um, so it just so happens that you, Kelly, you have the number one and number two West guy with the most fantasy points. So you must be
Yeah.
feeling pretty good just in time for East, though. And I have Deegan in East.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of praying to the fantasy gods or the Supercross gods,
That
let
wrist
me
isn't an issue.
that. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I just
Yeah.
hope that some of my guys do well in East because I really need it. Someone needs to freaking catch Kelly because like Kelly's 4-0 right now and his team's just looking so good. So I'm hoping that now
Yeah.
in the
And
East
and
rounds
again,
I can catch back up.
we'll post on social media, like we always do, our leagues matchup results from this week and the current standings. But yeah, I'm 4-0 now. It's a good place to be. But yeah, I mean, 250 West has really gone in my favor so far. I mean, I now have there's in the actual Supercross standings, not just Supercross points, which are a little bit or Speed League points, which are a little bit different. There's 2 red plate holders, and I've got both of them. It's Levi Kitchen and Jordan Smith. That's a good place to be. But I do want to talk about Hampshire because Hampshire is still very fast, and he coming into the season, I was like, look, this is the guy. I mean, he was second in damn near every race last year to Jett, and now Jett's gone. This is his perfect opportunity. He's been in the class a while too. He's a veteran vibe to him. He should just be, consistently cleaning everybody out, and he's kind of consistently screwing up. I mean, after A1, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on a few of those mud races, but I mean, last night he threw it away.
I honestly thought that like RJ this season was like gonna do what Jett and Hunter did last season, where it's like he's number one and then everyone else is battling for 2, 3, 4. I mean, like RJ was right there pretty much in second every single time. And then now that his like number one competitor moved up, I was just thinking everything was just gonna flow right in. RJ was gonna be winning all these races, but he hasn't been. And like he was super consistent last year. So I don't know what's changed, like maybe mentally knowing that like he's the top guy in the like 250 class, and it's getting to his head a little bit. But I mean, I was a huge RJ supporter preseason. I mean, I would have, no question, drafted him number one overall in the West. And yeah, it just seems like consistency is a big problem for him this year. I don't know what it is.
So I mean, if neither one of us has RJ on our team, but I mean, where are you predicting RJ if you've got him?
Next week, I would have to say that I would probably predict him third. I mean, I think like that gives a little wiggle room. Where if he does come out and like have a heater, okay, he like wins, you get first place points plus, a few prediction points, but it kind of gives you a little insurance on if he has one of those mistakes and he, finishes behind, Jordan Smith and Kitchen, kind of either might like get him dead on and then regain some of those points. So probably around third for the
Yeah.
next race back when they're in West.
Yeah, I'd probably say second, actually. And my reasoning for that is he seems like one of those guys that's overwhelmingly likely either gonna like win the race or get second or have some sort of issue and crash and be way back in a place that you wouldn't even predict him, 8th place or something like that. It wouldn't really make sense to put him there. You can't predict what kind of issues he might have. But I definitely, neither one of us do first place predictions very often. We really reserve that for someone that we're very confident is going to, win every race, a Jett Lawrence in the 250 class last year or something like that. And I'm for sure not there with RJ, but I kind of feel like it's a low probability that he finishes third.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like depending on like what happens in the race, like you said, it like does seem like either he's going to get first and second or, sixth, like you said. And that's a very good point. But still, I mean, kind of the whole.
This kind of falls into the realm a little bit of sometimes predictions are a little more art than science.
Yeah, but just the whole like vibe of this whole thing is that he's not as dominant as me and you and a lot of people thought that he was going to be. So maybe he'll like turn it around, but we'll see. We'll see about that.
Yeah. Now you've got on your team, although I don't know if you picked him up or subbed him in. I think you just subbed him in. Mr. Anthony Bourdon, the Frenchman, has come out of nowhere and is absolutely killing it. He's 5th in points right now.
Yeah, he actually has more points than Joe Shimoda. Who would have thought? Yeah, I mean, I just like stumbled onto Bourdon. I mean, obviously Volan got hurt, so I was kind of looking on the like waiver wire, thinking, okay, who am I going to pick up? And I was looking at Yoder and Bourdon and all the people that I didn't want. And I was like, okay, let's just go with Bourdon. And he got 6th place last week, which is better than like any of my other guys. Like I have Marchbanks and he got 9th. I have Oldenburg has really been letting me down, got 12th. So my waiver pickup was my number one guy. And that's never a good thing. I mean, like, yes, someone might think, oh yeah, that's so
it's not
cool.
good.
but that's not a good thing. It means that my other guys suck, and like Kelly has all the good guys. So yeah, not a fun spot to be in.
It's a good strategy to have the two red plate holders. If anyone's looking for some deep analysis on how to play
Should
fantasy,
have thought of
highly
that, man.
recommend it.
Should have thought
Yeah.
of that. You're just
Oh
so
yeah.
smart.
So Bourdon's seventh on the current Speed League rankings. He's had a few people jump him in points just based on getting some hole shots and some bonus points in there. That's what shakes up and makes the difference between Speed League current points rankings and the actual championship. But yeah, I mean, you've got him subbed in again. I mean, who else do you have on your team that you're holding out on actually picking him up for? Oldenburg. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like have
Oh,
Oldenburg,
oh,
and
you're
like,
hanging on to Volen too.
yeah, it's like Oldenburg should be doing better than Bourdon. And I know that, Oldenburg has had some bad luck. And actually, this week was his worst finishing position yet at 12th. But I feel like over the course of, a full season, Oldenburg should do better than like Bourdon. So I don't, knowing like Marchbanks, I mean, he's been kicking ass. He got 2 like podiums in a row in the 2 mudders. So maybe I just need to keep an eye out for Marchbanks in the mud and predict them a little higher. But yeah, my team is a little sketchy. I must say.
So Ryan will be praying for rain in the next 250 West race, but that's not for a while. 250 East is starting up next week, and I mean the most hyped 250 rider is coming up in Detroit and Hayden Deegan. I've seen videos of him riding after the little scare about his wrist. So, I mean, apparently it's not an issue, or he's acting like it's not an issue. But, I mean, is there anyone that's going to fuck with Hayden Deegan?
So I think that obviously Deegan's number one. I mean, he like proved it last year, and is just showing that, hey, look, I'm young, but I'm fast. And he does have that like little wrist issue, but I mean, like you said, I saw some like Instagram posts, and it seems to be fine. And like when you're a little younger like that, I mean, things tend to heal quicker. So I think he's like going to be just fine as a Detroit favorite for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he was a little sketchy in Supercross last year, but that being said, for a rookie season, I mean, he wildly outperformed everyone, and then obviously when it came to SMX, playoffs, he became the SMX champion. So I guess he'll be rolling in with that same, weird colored purple and yellow number plate that Jett's been riding for the last while.
Yeah, and probably I'll like predict him second because I kind of like you said. I mean, first is like reserved for those for guys that are like gonna get first and expect to get first. Someone like Jett and like Hunter last year. But on the first race of the season, I mean, I'm going to give him a little wiggle room just in case. So second's probably a good prediction for race 1 for Deegan.
Yeah, I can imagine Deegan ending up at a point this season where he might be someone you predict first. I mean, if he comes out and just starts beating everybody, and I'm looking at the other riders here. There's some very fast people. Max Anstey I had on my team last year. He's super good. Seth Hamaker, Austin Faulkner, Enzo Lopes now on the Factory Star Racing Yamaha. But I don't know if any of those guys are going to be have the outright speed. Austin Faulkner's had crazy speed before, but we'll see if he can make it to the first corner this year.
That's the biggest question mark for me this year is Faulkner. Is he gonna come out like he did, 2 or 3 years ago and just be that top guy, or is he, kind of getting a little older? He has injuries building up, um, and like, is he gonna lose some of that speed? And like, I could see a world where Faulkner wins the East Championship. I mean, it's probably not likely, but if that happened, it like wouldn't really be the craziest thing in the world. I mean, what do you think the chances are? Like Faulkner comes out, he's been training, he's been practicing, he's fresh, and he comes out and says, "Hey, like Deegan who," and just freaking starts taking race wins.
I think Austin Faulkner is in for a rough season, mostly because he's on John's team in our league. And John can't catch a break. John's 0-4 at this point. He's having a rough one, and yeah, Faulkner is definitely one of those guys who seems susceptible to bad luck. But no, look, Faulkner had, it feels like 10 years ago now, a few seasons in a row where it was like, he's the fastest guy. He's going to win the championship. This is his year. And it just hasn't panned out. So, I don't know. Is the speed still going to be there? I almost kind of hope he dials back the speed a little bit in an effort to make it through the season.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I feel like it could go either way, like I said, but I'm really looking forward to see how that's going to turn out. And I'm actually rooting for him. You know, he had some terrible luck. He like seems, like he's going to go out there and haul ass. So we'll see what happens. We
No,
will
I
see.
really hope so too. If he's got crazy speed and can take it to Deegan and they have some awesome battles, that would be really really fun to see.
Yeah, definitely.
But so Anstey, John has him too. I don't see Anstey being anything but consistent.
Yeah, for sure. And Anstey, to me, I mean, he is more of a veteran in this, coast. And I think that like Deegan kind of, the like same thing that like Jett's going through right now, where like he has so much expectations and like everyone's thinking he's the fastest guy, but he's still young and like not quite as like mature as like someone like Anstey. I mean, I think Anstey's gonna be super, super consistent up there every single week. And definitely gonna stick it to this new guy, Deegan, for sure. He's not gonna let the young guy run away with it.
And probably there to pick up the pieces if, there's some young guy mistakes that happen.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. But Hammaker up there too. I think, yeah. Last year was a throwaway for him because of injuries, but Hammaker's a really fast guy. We have him ranked up above Faulkner, and then my man is Enzo Lopes. I've had Enzo Lopes in multiple seasons, and that dude is, I mean, on a non-factory team, Club MX or something like that. Um, he's an absolute killer of just exactly what you want in fantasy, of the super consistent but high up guy. I would have him predicted like fifth almost every single week, and he would just nail it dead on half the time. And now he's on a factory team. And from my understanding, he had an offer, a multi-year offer for Club MX to go back to them, and took a 1-year deal with Star Racing just to give himself an opportunity to be on the best bike and see what he could do. So, I mean, super critical year for Enzo Lopes.
1 year deals to me, I mean, whether it be Supercross or football or baseball or like freaking MotoGP, I almost like the rider that is on the 1 year deal because they are riding for their life. Every race means so
Mm-hmm.
much. I mean, it's they like can't screw up. It is every race is the freaking championship to them because they want to get signed by that factory team. So I think Lopes is just going to be freaking riding hard, being aggressive, and do like really, really well on that factory ride this year.
Yeah, and he chose it too. He chose the 1-year deal. He bet on himself. So that's really really rad. But yeah, I mean, there's other big names floating around this class as well. I mean, Cameron McAdoo is super fast. Another guy that's had some consistency issues. Jeremy Martin, um, who just got engaged. I just saw on his Instagram he
Congratulations.
got engaged the other day. Congratulations, Jeremy Martin. Tom Vial, who had a decent year last year in Supercross, a very good year in outdoors, but he's also another guy, coming from the GPs in Europe and outdoor, a little bit of his specialty, but would love to see him show some improvement in Supercross. Um, Pierce Brown, Nick Morano, Jalik Swoll, Chance Hymas. Chance Hymas ranked all the way back here in 12th, could do way better than that, honestly. That might be a little bit of a sleeper pick.
Yeah. Speaking of sleeper picks, Kelly, do you want to give your sleeper pick of the week?
I can talk about a sleeper pick a week, and mine is someone that shouldn't be a sleeper, but is a sleeper, which is Justin Barsha. Justin Barsha had a shit show yesterday. I watched his video breakdown. He said that they were trying up some new setup stuff with the bike that it sounded like might have, they felt like it was really good during the week and it didn't really pan out in the night show and, the actual racing. So he had a really bad time, but a lot of confidence moving forward. He's had a weird year so far. which is why he's ending up as a sleeper right now. He's in 10th place in the points, which is way far back for Barsha. And it's weird because historically he's been a very consistent guy, one of those guys you want in, fantasy, that, fifth place every week, something like that. But I definitely feel like Barsha is due for a better week. I know he was on the podium a couple weeks ago, but it was a weird mud race type of thing. Dry race, I think Justin Barsha, well, we're moving out to Detroit, a little bit more East Coast, might be a little bit more his style. I've got Barsha on my team, and pending seeing how he does in qualifying, I'm probably going to predict him around the 7 area.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I mean, Barsha has had a rough one. He actually started out the season pretty slow last year and then really stepped it up to be like battling for those podiums. So I think Barsha is a total sleeper pick. And I bet that in, 2 or 3 weeks, he's not even going to be on the sleeper radar anymore because he's going to pick it up so much that he wouldn't even be, one of those guys outside the top 8. So I think that's a great guy. You're going to catch him right here on the, it's like low point. It's like stocks. You're like buying Barsha on his low point and then watching it grow. So I think that that's a really good sleeper pick. My sleeper pick for the week is someone who has been doing really well in qualifying. And like qualifying doesn't always, mean much because like some guys can do really shitty in qualifying or like really good in qualifying. And in the race, it's like totally different. But my sleeper is Justin Cooper. He like qualified 5th in like A1, which shows that he like totally has the speed, and like he's like one of those guys that is like going to be up there battling for like top 5s. But then it like didn't really pan out for him. And then last week in A2, he was first overall qualifier. And to be number 1 qualifier, I mean, that to me isn't a fluke. It is not like, oh, wow, he got lucky or the track was in better condition. Like sometimes you see like Group B guys getting really good qualifying because, the track changed so much from Group B to Group A, but that's not the case. He was in Group A and he was the fastest dude on the track. So I think that, if he could just kind of rope it in the mains, like he's going to do really well. I know that back in San Francisco, they didn't even make the main. So that's, super concerning. And he followed that up with a 14th place. So it doesn't look good, but he got an 8th A1 in the dry and an 8th in A2 in the dry. So that shows me that he's not really a mud guy, which is fine. Some people have their pros and cons of their style, but he's pretty darn fast in the dry. So he right now, I would say for like Detroit, I would probably predict him 7th or 8th. I think that he's really going to make a comeback, show that speed, and like really outperform his like speed league ranking right now of 11th in fantasy points.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He looks super fast right now, and honestly, one of the bigger reasons why I see him as someone who's really strong is he is great at starts. His starts are really, really good, and I mean, especially with a field this deep, that's really important. And he's still relatively new to the 450 class. He did a few races last year, but if you can get that start and be up there with the fast guys, and even if they're going by you, if you can hang on as much as you can and just learn as much as you can from him, he'll improve so quickly. So that's a big, big thing he has in his favor. But so those are sleepers, and again, kind of crazy that Barsha and Cooper would be quote unquote sleepers, but that's the depth of this field right now. Those are guys that are outside that top 8 and 9 right now. They're not competitive for championship. So talking about some guys that are, we want to pick some locks for the week. Some guys that are we are very confident are going to end up at least on the podium. And for me, that person is Cooper Webb, because Cooper Webb, coming off this win, obviously he didn't win any of the individual races, but every one of the elements is there right now. He was up competitive for all of them because his starts were always solid. Again, not getting a whole shot, but he's up and competitive. And when you're Cooper Webb, if you can just be up with that group, he's always the strongest in late race anyways. And we didn't even get to see with a Triple Crown format, this, long 20 minutes plus one lap dragged out main event, and Cooper Webb tracking a guy down in the last few minutes like is really his strong point. So Webb has way more speed than I think a lot of people anticipated he would. Preseason. He's been really fast. He's getting great starts and just consistent and riding well. So Cooper Webb, I'm definitely would consider him a podium lock for next week, probably with a prediction of 2 or 3, depending on, sort of how he looks in qualifying. I don't like to put too much weight on qualifying, but you can sort of see a guy's confidence level for that day and make some minor adjustments with that information.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems to me that, he like doesn't get many hole shots, but he's always, in that top 5 on the starts. He like doesn't win many races, but he's a lot of times on the podium. I mean, he's just the epitome of someone who doesn't, push it too hard and crash, even though he like did that in like A1 trying to catch Jett, but you know, he like knows his limits and he doesn't push it so that something catastrophic happens. But he is fast enough to where even if he's not riding over his head like some of these guys, he will still finish on the podium. So I love that lock pick. I think that for sure Cooper Webb's going to be on the podium next week. I would lock that in for sure. And then
All
my
right, who you got?
so my lock of the week, and it's kind of going out on a limb because we don't have much, to like go off of this year because the East is just starting. But my lock of the week is Max Anstey, and I think that he is for sure on the podium, maybe a win, because he is 12 years older than like Hayden Deegan. And like with those 12 years, not only is like that experience, but it's just, calm, cool, collected. He doesn't have like a target on his back like Deegan. He doesn't have, like an unattainable goals like Deegan of, trying to do what Jett did last year and hype and everyone talking about him. I think that he's in the perfect spot where he's still, like projected second, which is still, like high expectations, but he's right there to where he's not the like premier guy. So he could kind of sneak in there, no pressure, use his experience. And like we've seen before that, the younger you are, the more mistakes you make. That's the same in Supercross. That's the same in life. I know that I've made plenty of dumb mistakes when I was young. And like that's the kind of time of their life that like Deegan's in right now, is he's in those times where he's learning from his mistakes, figuring out, his exact style and like how he wants to ride. I mean, Deegan's been like riding his whole life, and obviously he like knows how to operate a motorcycle. But Max Anstey with that experience, I mean, last year he did like phenomenal. I mean, he was super super consistent. And it just seems to me like he is a lock for first or second to like try to capitalize on if Deegan makes a mistake. Max Anstey, first or second. I would predict him second.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I would not definitely go first on Max Anstey. I love him and I agree with everything you said. He seems like someone that is overwhelmingly likely to end up on the podium, but I wouldn't bet on winning.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But so that's what we got. We're stoked to see what happens in the first East Coast race next week. Always awesome to see different guys on the track that we haven't seen before. I'm hoping I can get my East Coast team is going to be half as good as my West Coast team is, but we'll see. But that's all we got. Like I said, we'll post all our matchup results on social media if you want to take a look at how we're doing in our league. But play for free on Speed League Fantasy if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.